We've never. No. They saw the title of the video. No, niggas have never been to the moon.
NASA tells us these are the smartest motherfuckers. At least they say they are. They got all the degrees and papers and shit hanging on the wall. So I guess they're supposed to be
educated.
Right.
They're very educated. I give them that.
They said that we've been to the moon. And you know me. You know how I am about this moon shit. Like, that's why that's there and all this shit. Because this moon thing, this is really what got me started into this whole conspiracy thing and whatever, this, that, and the other. I don't even call it conspiracy. I call it seeking truth, right? If you're a conspiracy theorist, really you're just seeking the truth, right? So they can give you that label or that moniker that you're a conspiracy theorist. Nigga, I'm just trying to find out what the fuck's going on for real. And so they're telling me about the moon, and we landed on the moon. We had these Apollo missions and all this shit. We went from, the late 60s to the early 70s, and we had all these 11 missions or however many missions we went to the moon and all this kind of shit. But then if you ask a scientist today, they tell you that we can't get back to the moon. Does that make sense to you?
No, you're right.
Because
if you went in 1969, and now we're in 2019 with the most advanced technology we've ever had in our entire fucking life, how can we not get back to the moon that we did in 1969?
We got drones delivering packages to motherfuckers' front door.
Right.
But we can't get back to the moon?
Right.
Like,
but we have a telescope up there looking down at all times, so we can't get to them. Like, just go to them, like.
Right. They say we can't even go there.
Right.
We can't go there. They're like, if you go on YouTube or whatever and Google this shit, they will tell you, scientists will tell you that we don't have the technology to get back to the moon. What? What you mean you don't have the technology? Nigga, you had it back in 1969. So what now? Like, you forgot it? Like, I don't understand. You can't get back to the moon because you don't have the technology? You wrap the motherfucker up in some aluminum foil and some plastic and send his ass to the moon. But now that we got all this shit, we can't go back there? That doesn't make any sense. All the shit they tell you about the moon is wrong. All that shit is bullshit. We ain't landing on no goddamn moon. Ain't no ships land on the fucking moon. And if you go to YouTube and do any research about the fucking moon, if you believe that we went there, then something's wrong. Something's wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but people believe what so-called educated or people of authority tell them. But they don't do no thinking of their own. I've never been to the moon. I've never been an astronaut. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be an astronaut. But I can tell you this, we ain't went to no fucking moon. You can't tell me that you go into space and there's no oxygen. Let me tell you what you need in order to get to the moon. You need a rocket, right? You need a rocket.
This is true.
So when you have a rocket, the rocket has fuel. Fuel has to burn. But you know what you need to burn fuel? Oxygen. If there's no oxygen in space, how the fuck is that rocket jetting through space? You feel what I'm saying? Like, it can take off from the Earth because you have oxygen in the atmosphere. That's going to burn. That's going to combust. But once you get to a certain level, then you get outside the Earth's ozone layer and all that kind of shit. How does the rocket fuel burn when there's no atmosphere up there? There's no gravity. There's no nothing up there. There's nothing to make it do nothing. You see what I'm saying? Like, how does that work? How do you land on the moon? If you go look on YouTube, I'm going by what they showing me. You go on YouTube and they'll show you this little ship, this little pod coming down with the thrust engines coming out of it and shit, and it just slowly lands down onto the moon, just all nice and perfect and shit, and this, that, and the other. How? How is it even how is that combustion working? It doesn't work in a vacuum. You can't burn shit in a vacuum. You can also go to YouTube and check that out for yourself too. Where people make their own little vacuum chambers and shit, and then they put matches in there and whatever and shit. It doesn't burn. You can't burn without oxygen. So how the fuck is that the thrust engine going down like this with all this fire coming out of it and shit, and it's landing just softly on the moon and shit? Like, that's ridiculous. You ain't landing on no moon. Okay, we ain't been to no goddamn moon. we can't get to the moon. And then you have these fucking astronauts up there who here's one of my biggest things. Okay, out of all the research I've done about this moon landing bullshit, they had one of the astronauts take golf balls and a golf clubs up to the moon. Okay, you know why they did that? Because they wanted to show the American people in the world about no gravity and none of that shit up there in space, and as something goes or it's in motion, how it just continues to stay in motion, right? Because there's no gravity in it. So he
hit it and the shit just kept flying.
Correct. And here's the thing. Now this is what you have to pay close attention to, and you can look this up on YouTube for yourself. So this nigga takes a golf ball out of his pocket. He's talking to NASA, Houston,
right,
whatever. He's like, okay, Houston, I have this small white pellet, blah blah blah. He's trying to make a joke. It's a golf ball. So he pulls it out of his pocket and he drops it. So I'm looking at the video.
Oh, okay. I see where the issue already lies.
I'm like, oh, okay. So he did it again. He pulls it out of the pocket, he drops it. As soon as he dropped it, it hits the ground. What's wrong with that picture right there?
If he dropped it, it wouldn't go straight to the ground.
It couldn't go straight to the ground. There's no gravity, okay? But if you look at this video, and I just looked at this bitch the other day, it's still there. This motherfucker pulls out a golf ball right here by his waist and drops it. It took less than 1/10 of a second for it to hit the ground. How? There's no gravity up there on the moon. So even if it did hit the ground, it would have been like a feather going down to the ground. You see what I'm saying?
Space, yeah.
Because there's no gravity up there, right?
Space, yeah.
But when he dropped it, that's it. Boom, drop, boom, drop, boom, just like that. That looked like the shit that would happen on Earth. If you were dropping a golf ball out of your pocket and it hits the ground that fast, that's the shit you see on Earth every time you go to a fucking golf range, okay, or whatever. That's not even the biggest part of this. So this motherfucker gets a golf club.
They were in space when this happened?
They own the moon.
Oh, this is the old...
The old footage from NASA.
Okay.
These motherfuckers are on the moon. They're on it. In their spacesuits and everything. The big helmets and all this. He's dropping shit on the ground and it's just boom, 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 just hitting the ground. I'm already having a problem, okay? So I'm like, oh, this is bullshit. Then here's the other thing. And this shows you how people pay attention to shit. So he has a golf club. He can only swing it with one hand, okay? Because the suit is so bulky, he can't hit it right. So he's like, I can only use one hand to hit the golf ball. There's a camera set up. There's another astronaut behind him. Okay, so the astronaut is here. He's trying to hit the golf ball. There's an astronaut behind him, and then there's a camera set up facing him where he's hitting the golf ball, right? So he's like, I can only do it with one hand, but I'm gonna hit the golf ball. So he hits it. Boom. He hits the golf ball. He hits a lot of dirt. Okay, he hits a lot of the dirt because he's on the surface of the moon, whatever. So he hits it. And he was like, oh, I got more dirt than ball. I'm going to do it again. Boom, drops it. He hits that bitch again. Pow. He hits the ball good. It flies off the camera screen, right? Off the camera frame. He does it again, third time. Boom. This is what he says. He's like, man, look at that. Look at that ball just sail for miles and miles and miles. That's what he said. Those are his exact words. You don't have to take my word for it. Look this shit up yourself. Here's the problem. Why did he take the golf clubs and the golf balls to the moon? To show everybody on the planet how non-gravity works. Like there's no gravity up there, right?
Right.
So why wouldn't you pan over to show us the golf ball going out into space? Because that was the only fucking purpose of you taking the golf balls and the golf clubs, right? You didn't take them up there for just so you could have fucking practice. You took it up there to show the whole world.
No, you're right.
Because we're not gonna ever go to the moon. You took that up there for that specific reason, to show us how this shit flies out into space. That was your whole purpose of taking the golf clubs and the golf balls to the moon to show us how shit is in space. But you never even showed us the golf ball going into space. You know why they didn't show us that? Because the motherfuckers ain't in space. They're not on the moon. You feel what I'm saying? They're not on the moon at all. So you're telling me that the only reason you brought this shit up here is to show us something, and then you didn't show it to us. Now, see, most people would look at that and be like, oh man, they hit golf balls in space. That shit flying all over the place. Did you see it fly? Right. You just saw a motherfucker hit a golf ball. You never saw it fly out into space because they never panned the camera over. They just showed you a motherfucker hitting the ball. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Here's another question I had, because these motherfuckers landed on the surface of the moon. And I know I'm much bigger into this moon thing than you are. But when you go and look at the night sky and the moon is glowing like a flashlight, why does the moon glow?
Because the light from the sun is reflecting on the moon. The moon is the most reflective surface in the entire galaxy, universe.
The most reflective thing that we know in man, right?
Right.
Say that one more time. The moon is what? The most what?
Reflective surface in the entire universe.
Okay, let me ask you this. So, when these motherfuckers are up there on the moon, ain't no clouds and shit.
I see where you're going.
Ain't no clouds,
I see where you're going.
Ain't no atmosphere, none of that shit, correct? The moon doesn't generate its own light.
Right.
NASA
So let me say it, because I know where you're going.
Okay.
So basically what you're about to say is, how in the hell can we even see them on the moon? Because if we can see how bright it is from here, when we're right up close to it right here,
correct,
it should be like the most intense light the camera should be able to see.
Wow,
that's a very good point.
It would blind everybody.
Never thought about
All
that.
you would see
Honestly, God, I've never thought about that. That was real.
You would only see a white light, right?
It's pretty good.
The most reflective substance that we know of, correct?
And I'm also throw this in. Even if someone was to say, well, the camera's probably specially made to like blind out that light. Number one, this is 1969,
correct,
asshole. Secondly, I don't think you understand how intense that light will be. There is no way, like not even the heat from it, just the light itself. The light source would be so bright that you couldn't even get a camera to even focus on anyone there.
So in 1969, first of all, you're telling me that they had a camera that could withstand the heat of the sun? Because remember, there's no atmosphere, nothing blocking the sun's rays.
Or the brightness of it.
Remember, they put them in these special suits and shit to keep them from burning up there, right? Because basically
it was weighted and like insulated.
Weighted and insulated,
Right.
correct. It's weighted so they don't fly off into space, but it's insulated so that they don't get burned up by the sun. Okay, that's why the shield that they had over them or whatever, it was supposed to be gold. It's supposed to be gold plated, like real gold, because the intense sunlight. You know what I'm saying? Because the sun is always shining.
Never knew that.
Yes. So once again, the moon is the most reflective substance that we know of, right? That's what NASA tells us, not me. All right. But yet these motherfuckers are standing on the moon, and you can see them just around, just chilling. You know, this, that, and the other. You see footprints and shit in the dirt and all that kind of stuff or whatever. No brightness, no reflection of the light. How is that possible?
Yeah,
How?
It's a pretty solid point.
No, I mean that just makes no sense to me. When they landed or whatever, the intent that would be like literally just taking 2 mega flashlights and sticking them in your fucking eyes. You wouldn't be able to see shit. But here's the thing though. Here's what fucks that up even more. If you look at the pictures that the astronauts took of Earth from the moon, there's no stars. Hold on. There's no stars. There's just the Earth right here, and blackness all around. But this is what they say. They say it's so bright up there that you can't see the stars because of the exposure of the camera. They say it's so bright up there that you can't see the stars behind the planet because of the brightness of the sun. It messes up the exposure.
I can comprehend that.
So then, why then is the moon not glowing?
The surface that they're on.
Right.
Glowing that
You're telling me I can't see stars because of how bright the sun is, but yet the brightness of the sun doesn't affect the moon at all.
Okay.
You feel what I'm saying? You can take your camera right now. People got iPhones and shit and whatever and Androids. Go outside in the full moon and take a picture of it. When you say iPhone cameras are very advanced and shit today,
oh yeah, definitely.
But even when you do that, you're not gonna get a lot of detail. You just see it like a white light.
Right.
And it's supposed to be hundreds of thousands of miles away. They own it. They own the light. You know what I'm saying? They're literally standing on the light.
That's what my point was.
So if you're standing right in the middle of the fucking light, how can I see all this shit around you? You feel what I'm saying? How can I see that? That doesn't make any sense to me. You can't tell me that the light is so intense that it's fucking up the camera and I can't get the stars. But yet the light ain't intense enough to where I can still see you and shit on the moon, and it's the most reflective shit in the world. Come on now, that doesn't make sense. Because the moon doesn't make its own light, it just reflects light. That's all it does. We've established that the moon does not create its own light. All it does is redirect or reflect sunlight, correct?
This is true.
Is sunlight hot?
Yes, it is.
So when you stand out in the sun and the sun hits your arm, that shit is warm, correct?
Correct.
The moon is doing what? It doesn't produce its own light, it just redirects sunlight, correct? Why then when you stand in the moon, moonlight ain't hot? Because it's still sunlight. All it's doing is redirecting it. You feel what I'm saying?
I guess because it's not coming from the direct surface of it.
If you have a laser and you shoot a laser at a mirror, it's going to redirect that laser. You feel what I'm saying?
This is true.
When that laser gets redirected, whatever it hits back here, it's going to burn. Because see, the heat didn't change, just the direction. You feel what I'm saying? The direction of the laser changed, not the heat. If the laser is hot, it's still going to be hot when it bounces back this way. You feel what I'm saying? And the reason I know this is because I did this in an experiment when I was at my job just a few months ago, just trying to figure this shit out. I had a little mirror, and the sun was coming up, the sun was shining. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. What I did was I took that mirror, and I took the sunlight that was coming down and had it bounce off the mirror onto my arm. It was still hot. You feel what I'm saying? It was still hot. So therefore, if you redirect sunlight, it's still supposed to be warm. You can literally walk by a building or something, and the sun hits the glass and bounces off. You can feel the heat. You feel the heat. The sun's heat doesn't change. So even though it hits the moon,
so are you saying,
how does it get cooler when it gets to Earth? Because sunlight gets to Earth is hot, but the moon is redirecting sunlight. Sunlight is always hot, so why is it not hot at night?
That's what you're saying. It should
Yes.
be hot at night.
The heat should always be heat. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. If you burn some logs in the middle of say you're in the middle of a snowstorm, right? You're in the middle of the forest and it's snowing. You dig out the snow, right? You dig all that shit out,
See,
and then you light the wood.
I don't know.
You understand what I'm saying? You like the wood. Is the wood still hot?
Yes.
Even though it's surrounded by coal, is the wood still hot?
The size of the sun compared to the moon is not close. The sun is huge compared. Okay, well that's what we're basing this off of.
Okay,
The size of the sun is not close to the moon. So if you're having this big giant light source that produces heat and it's bouncing off of a tiny mirror compared to it, it's not going to produce the same amount of heat it would as it's just shining on itself.
So when I take a magnifying glass, right? A magnifying glass.
It's concentrating the heat though.
It's doing what?
It's concentrating it.
Correct.
But it's not.
But
the
I'm
same
saying
thing.
it's still hot. The heat never changes. So if I take
but
a
it's
magnifying,
also coming from the sunlight itself though.
Okay.
Like it's coming. What I'm saying is, if it's coming from the sun itself,
right?
The sun is out. It's noon. It's hot as fuck.
Hot.
But when it's hot as fuck, the beams are coming down. But when something that the moon is so small compared to the sun, when the light hits the moon, since it's so small, it's not a big giant moon. The heat waves are bouncing off of the moon. It wouldn't be as hot as it would because it's so small compared to the sun.
I get exactly what you're saying. Let me ask you this: how close is the moon to the Earth, and how close is the sun to the Earth?
I don't know.
The sun is 93 million miles away from Earth. That's what they say. The sun is 93 million miles away from Earth. 93 million miles away.
Okay.
The moon is only 239,000 miles from Earth. So basically, in space terms, the moon is as close to the Earth as me and you.
Okay.
So, understanding that you're saying that the sun is so far away, and the moon is not nearly the size of the sun.
It's not.
But the moon is so much closer than the sun that even if it's redirecting or reflecting light, you understand what I'm saying? That it's still, the intensity is not going to change because the sun is so bright and strong from all these millions of miles and it's shining down on the Earth. But the thing it's shining on is right by the Earth. You feel what I'm saying? Like, so here you have the Earth and you have the moon. So the light being directed from the sun is hitting, and it's like this. The moon is not here. In space terms, the moon is right here. It's only 239,000 miles. It only takes 3.5 days to get to the moon. To get to the sun, you'd be old and dead before you could get to the sun. It's 93 million miles away. So the sun is way over here shining down on the Earth. All right? Then the sun goes down past the horizon, whatever, which is bullshit, but whatever. And so it goes down, and then here's the moon. And the moon is now catching the sunlight and redirecting it to Earth. So it's right here, though. So if something bounces from here to here, it still should be more, it's closer, so it should be more intense. It's not further away, it's closer. So even though the moon is much smaller, it doesn't matter the size when it's that close. You feel what I'm saying? If I put my hand here, I could probably feel a little bit of heat. Not a whole lot of heat though, right?
This is right.
But if I get my hand closer to that heat,
but
I'm gonna feel a lot more heat.
But that's a direct source of the heat.
I get that. But even if you were to reflect that, if I had something reflecting this, okay, like I said with the laser, you ever seen them do a laser test when they reflect?
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Okay, so if you reflect the laser from that mirror here, I've seen people on YouTube reflect lasers like on 3 or 4 mirrors. But whenever the mirror, whenever the laser gets through bouncing off the mirrors and hit whatever, it still burns it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it started. It's where it ends, but the heat is still the same. The heat never changes. The heat never changes. And when it's reflecting off something that's so close to the Earth, you still should feel heat. Period. Okay, let me say this then. Let me ask you this. If at high noon in August, it's 95 degrees outside.
Right.
Okay. So then the moon comes out or whatever. It's still reflecting sunlight because that's sunlight that makes it glow, right? So it's still reflecting sunlight, but it's much closer to the Earth than the sun is. But you're saying that what happens to the sun when it's not shining anymore? Where is the sun at?
Supposedly on the other side.
So it's going around, supposedly going around the globe or whatever.
Right.
Okay. But it's still shining on the moon.
Right.
So if that's what people believe, and I have a problem with that. So here's the Earth, here's the moon.
Yes.
But then the sun is going down here.
Yeah.
What sunlight is hitting the moon?
I guess it's so, you just said it yourself. If it's 93 million miles away and the moon is so close and the sun is so big, there's still going to be a light source still hitting the moon since it's so far away. If you just said the sun is so far away from the moon.
So it really doesn't matter where the moon is, it's still directing the same intense sunlight in. Right?
The light.
Okay, so then when it reflects that same intense sunlight from the moon.
So if this is the case, then you believe it should always be daytime.
Sky should always be blue.
Okay.
Sky should always be blue. right? It should always be
Yeah,
blue.
that's what you're saying then.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Let me give you another example about the moon. Right? Not only do I not believe the moon landing it existed, I think that's crock shit. Not just with the golf club thing or whatever. I can give you 1,000 different examples, but I'm not gonna go through all that. But people can do research on their own. But I'm gonna give you this, and this is something that's pretty much foolproof. Okay, this is foolproof about me and the moon, what the moon is, where the sun is, all this kind of stuff, and blah 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 blah. You ever look up in the night sky and you see a full moon, and you see clouds by the moon? You ever seen that before?
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll see the moon, it's right there, and you'll see clouds passing by, or you see clouds around the moon, right? Okay. So as you look at that night sky, and you see the moon and the clouds by it, do you notice how the clouds around the moon are like really bright, and then the further you get away from
They
the
get
moon,
darker.
it gets darker?
I've seen that.
You've noticed that before,
I've seen
correct?
it. Yeah.
Anybody who has eyes to see
I've seen it.
has seen that before.
Yes.
It's not just on a picture. You can see this every night.
Correct.
You go outside, there's clouds by the moon. You see the clouds closest to the moon are white. They're bright.
Yes.
And then the further you get away from the
They
moon,
get like dark, right?
they get darker and darker
Right.
and darker. So here's my thing. How's that possible? Because I want you to think about something. The moon is how far away from Earth? 239,000 miles. Let's just round up to 250, make it easy.
Okay.
250,000 miles, 250,000 miles away. So here you have your Earth right here, and your moon is here, right? Earth is here, moon is here, right? So on the Earth, you have the atmosphere, right, and the clouds and shit like that, or whatever this, that, and the other. Moon is here, Earth is here. So if the sun is redirecting light off of this down upon the Earth, right? It's redirecting the sunlight off the moon down to Earth. How far are the clouds away from the surface of the Earth? 10 miles. 10 miles. So many thousand feet, but they're about 10, 11 miles up. So from the surface of the Earth to reach a cloud, it's about 10 miles. Because planes can fly past, right? So they're only so far up.
Right.
Here's your moon. You have clouds right by the moon. They are lit up. But the further you get away from the moon, the clouds get darker.
Okay.
The moon is how far away? 250,000 miles.
Okay.
My point being is this. If the moon is here, the clouds around it are lit up. How come the clouds further away from the moon aren't lit up as well? Remember, the moon is up here, redirecting light down upon the Earth, right?
Yes.
It's like you take a flashlight and you pull it out.
Yes.
The flashlight is going to shine on one part of the sky, or is it going to shine on all of the sky?
All of it.
Just like the sun does, right?
Yes.
When the sun is up, it shines on all of the sky.
But we just established that it's redirecting the light, though.
It doesn't matter if it's redirecting the light. We're not even talking about heat. We're just talking about light.
I am too.
So therefore, if the moon is here and the light is coming down, splayed out on the Earth, right? Splayed out. Why is only the clouds right around the moon lit up bright? Because if you go outside and look at the clouds by the moon, they look white and puffy, right?
Yes.
Just like they did in the daytime. But the further you get away from the light source of the moon, those clouds aren't. You can't even see them half the time because it's so dark. Why can I only see the clouds right by the moon, white and puffy, but the rest of the clouds aren't white and puffy? Why can I not see them lit up? If the light source is here, if I take a flashlight and concentrate it here, it's just gonna be on this spot. But if I pull that light source away, it's gonna shine on everything. It's gonna shine on more shit. You feel what I'm saying? So a flashlight on this wall like this is just gonna be here. But the further I pull that flashlight out, what happens to the light? It fans out and it starts to shine on everything.
Okay.
So therefore, if the moon is way up here, and the light, just think of it as a flashlight shining down.
The moon is closer than what?
Correct. Understand what I'm saying? You can see this in your head, correct?
No, I'm picturing what you're saying.
You understand. So the only way, this is the thing, the only way the clouds can be lit up around the moon is if the light source is close. Because if the light source is so far away, everything will be evenly lit. Does that make sense? Everything will be evenly lit.
Like it is in the daytime.
Like it is in the daytime. You can't have white puffy clouds right by the moon, and then the further you get away from the moon, they get black. Because the moon is up here. Remember, the clouds are only 10 miles up. Planes go through clouds. So they're not that far up. So if you got the light source shining down, right? If you got the light source shining down, it's gonna shine on more shit, not less. The only reason it's shining on less shit is because the source of the light of the moon is right there. And is this, I don't believe in the moon landing. I don't believe you can get to the moon. I don't believe the moon is something solid that you can actually even fucking land on. Like the moon is, I don't know what the fuck the moon is, but I know it's not what they say it is. It's not some.
I mean, okay.
It's not some
because
reflective.
if that's the case, then like I was brought up a point about the eclipse that happened. That means if the moon was so close to the sun,
right?
That means that it shouldn't be black. It should have been brighter than the sun.
You saw the eclipse, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. Like if this is the most reflective substance, and the sun's here, as it's getting close to the sun, it should be brighter than the sun.
It should be brighter than anything.
So there's no way it can stand in front of the sun and be black if it's at nighttime. It's black. I mean, it's bright at nighttime, but then when it gets close to the sun, it turns black. That's the dumbest shit I've ever
So
heard.
you saw the eclipse just like I did on TV. And we saw the sun here, and then we saw the moon, right? Here's the sun. And then the moon just slowly came into frame, right?
Yes.
Right in front of the sun, and then once it got there, it stopped. I didn't know the moon had brakes. I didn't know that the bitch could just stop in the middle of space and just stay there for a while and say hi to the sun or whatever, and then just cruise his ass on out. But here's the thing. If you have the sun here, which is the producer of all light, right? And then this thing is the most reflective thing known to man. That's what NASA says, right? The moon is the most reflective substance we know. So as the moon was coming into frame, even if it's just this part, wouldn't that shit be bright as fuck?
Yeah.
It'd be bright
There's
as hell.
no way it should be black. Not possible.
Anybody can go back and watch, and you know I did this. Anybody can go back and watch any footage or video of the eclipse that happened a couple years ago. Let me tell you what you're not going to see. You are not going to see
A moon
the
come in the frame.
into the frame.
Yeah. Even when it was like way over here, it should have been. You should be able to see it come into the sun.
When you see the moon in the day, you seen the moon in the daytime before, right?
Yeah, plenty
You have
of
the
time.
sun on one
Plenty
side
of
and the
time.
moon on the other side, right?
Plenty of time.
Isn't the moon still lit up?
Yes.
So now you're telling me that
It
the
gets
moon
black.
is coming into the eclipse part, right?
Right.
Going right in front of the sun. It didn't shine not one time.
Not a single. Not only did it not shine, it got black.
It didn't shine one time.
It got black.
But it's the most reflective fucking substance
Right.
known to man. In the daytime, go out in the morning at 8 o'clock, you'll see the sun on one side of the sky and the moon on the other. And the moon will be shining because the sunlight is hitting it, correct?
Yes.
But then when the eclipse happened, the moon supposedly cruised its ass in front of the sun. That bitch never lit up one time. How can that be?
That's not possible.
How can you tell me that that's the moon?
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm gonna tell you what I saw. I saw a black.
is.
I saw a black circle go in front of the sun.
I don't know what the fuck.
But it ain't
that
the
was.
goddamn moon.
It's not the moon.
It can't be the moon because NASA, you tell me it can't be the moon. The moon is the most reflective substance known to man. It's going right in front of the fucking sun and it never lit up. Not one time.
Yeah.
0 times.
That's pretty bad.
Here's another part I got with this moon and this eclipse thing. The moon rises in the east and sets in the west, correct? Rises in the east
Yes.
on this side, sets in the west. That's why on the west coast they 3 hours behind us because it comes up on this side first and then on that side.
Yes.
But if you remember watching the eclipse, because we watched this shit on TV, where did the first
Nah, that's my biggest. I'm sorry.
where did the first whole eclipse happen?
Oregon or
It was in
some shit?
Oregon. Where's Oregon at?
You know what? How can we all be looking at the same sun and we not see the eclipse at the same time?
You see where I'm finna go with this?
We're all looking at the same. That means everyone in like Australia and we're all under the same sun, so we should all see the same eclipse at the same
So
time.
at 10:20 a.m. Western time, Pacific time, all right,
Yeah.
Oregon,
Yeah.
they had a total eclipse,
Yes.
right? They were showing it on TV. They had a total eclipse.
Yeah.
Here in Atlanta, it's 1 o'clock. I still got the glasses in my bag. So at 1 o'clock, when they had the eclipse in Oregon, at 10 o'clock a.m., and over here it was 1 o'clock, I took my glasses, I went outside, and I looked up at the sun. Wasn't no eclipse over here though.
No, not yet.
Then they said on TV, the eclipse wouldn't happen in Atlanta until like 2, 3 o'clock. But yet, there's a full eclipse in Oregon right now. Answer me this.
It's not possible.
Is there another fucking sun somewhere that I don't know about? Because
And
I
it's
thought
like the sun's right here. We're all looking at it at different angles, and that's not possible.
No.
It's so far away. We're all looking at the
at the
exact
same angle of the sun, correct?
Yeah.
So
That's the biggest thing they got.
if there's a full eclipse in Oregon at 10:20 a.m.
It should just happen at the same time everywhere at the same time.
Right, it don't matter
It doesn't matter where you are.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. that
So
doesn't
if
matter.
it's a full eclipse in Oregon, it's a full eclipse in Texas, Atlanta, Florida, and every goddamn where else, right? It's not. You can't have a full eclipse. So you're saying that the moon went in front of the sun in Oregon, gave them an eclipse, passed that bitch, looped back around, and then came back in front of the sun again to give us our full eclipse? Because we got a full eclipse here in Atlanta. They got one in South Carolina. So what am I missing as far as the eclipse happening where it happened first in Oregon and then it happened here? Yeah. What am I missing? And why the fuck is the sun going from west to east? The sun rises in the east and sets it. We should have got the full eclipse first, not Oregon. They 3 hours behind us. It comes up over this bitch, then goes across, and then it sets over there.
I see what you mean.
You feel what I'm saying? Like if it starts,
the moon follows that pattern too.
Right. So if it starts here,
yeah,
and goes across the sky, okay, and then here, because it's 7 a.m. in the morning here on the East Coast, but it's 4 a.m. over there. It's still dark. The sun has to get over there. You see what I'm saying? So it's like this. It's going like this. So then if the sun is going like this over there, who should have got the eclipse first? Yeah. It came up over here first, right? And the moon follows the sun, right? I mean, I'm not an astronomer or anything, but that shit just don't make sense to me. Like, when I think of things, I think of them in common sense shit. The sun always comes up in the east and goes to the west. Comes up in the east, goes to the west. The moon follows that bitch, right? That's how it works. The moon come right behind it, right? Because it goes around the earth, supposedly, like this, right? Here go the sun, and the moon is here. So if the sun is at the top of the earth, the moon is at the bottom, right? So then when the sun goes down, then the moon starts to come up. That's how it works. That's how it's supposed to go. But not when the eclipse happened. When the eclipse happened, this shit was ass backwards. The sun started over there, and then it came this way. That doesn't make sense. What happened there? Somebody needs to explain that to me.
The moon did that, supposedly.
So how though? How did that happen? And I dare anybody to go on YouTube or anywhere and find a video of the moon coming into the camera frame, not the black dot, because the black dot is not the moon. Show me the moon coming from in a distance and going in front of the sun, because that moon is going to be lit up. It's always lit up when it's up in the sky with the sun, because the sun is the light source, and the moon is the most reflective thing. So as it's going through and coming towards the sun, the moon should have been lit up. At least a little half sliver. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? At least a little sliver of a moon. You never saw it. All you saw was a black dot that never shined, stay in front of the sun for a few minutes, and then pass his ass off. And as the moon went past, wouldn't the back end of the moon be lighted up? You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't that be lit up as well? Because it's moving away from the sun, and then the light is shining down on it. So
I guess we're asking, what is the moon?
What is the moon? Because the moon ain't what they say it is. We ain't landed on it. We can't fucking figure it out. We don't know what it is.
What is this beam of light in the sky at night that's reflecting so much bright?
Did they tell us it's reflecting sunlight and it's doing all this shit? What really is it? Because it didn't do the eclipse and didn't do none of that shit. I don't know what the fuck.